Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journey, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2022. That brings us to that title, which has been designated by Criterion at spine number 1141. This is a work from the year 2021, and the name of the filmmaker is Jessica Beshir, and the name of the film is FAYA DAYI. This is the very incredible, absorbing and hypnotic work from the year 2021, and the filmmaker is Jessica Beshir. Indeed, the cinematography is Jessica Beshir, producer Jessica Beshir, and director Jessica Beshir. And this film is described as a documentary. And indeed, it is a documentary, and it is a fascinatingly shot and presented documentary in terms of philosophy and spirit and momentum. And this is something I'll try to articulate over the course of this video discussion. And I'm speaking of this work, which is, and once again, please pardon me for my very poor pronunciation of the language, but I'll do my very best. The title is FAYA DAYI. So this is my first time watching this work, FAYA DAYI, upon the release of this Criterion Collection Blu-ray. And it was a wonderful and overwhelming experience. I watched it many times. I think it's a hypnotic, mesmerizing work that has a sense of presence and space and indeed momentum. And there is a way in which it uses time and also the aspect of timelessness and things of the moment and the now and the feeling and the being that are so all-encompassing and so enveloping, thus to present a very enriching viewing experience indeed. So I was so taken with this, and I'll try to articulate to the best of my ability why I felt so taken the way I did. I think one way to begin, or one place to begin, would be the plot or story structure, but we have to remember that this is, yes, a documentary, and I think it's a very interestingly and fascinatingly presented documentary in that it could be said, I think from a general perspective, to be focusing in on this community or this city or place in Ethiopia. And this place is Harer. Again, please, I'm very apologetic for the poor pronunciation, but Harer. And this area, or this city or place in Ethiopia, is fascinating for a number of reasons. So first of all, we meet or we encounter various people that are, we understand, living in or around this area of Harer. And we also meet, or we are encountering farmers or people who are associated with the growing of this crop or this plant, which is known as kat. And so we see farmers here, the Oromo farmers, part of this community, part of this area, part of this place in Ethiopia, that are engaged in some form or another with the plant kat. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to the kat industry, so I did a little bit of research, and also I was relying on some of the discussion that was had by Jessica Beshir in one of the Criterion supplements, and we'll get to that in the latter half of this video discussion. But so kat is a plant that is described as a narcotic, light narcotic. It is a plant that is chewed, and there is a type of addictive quality to it. There's also, from certain vantage points, a way in which the experience of chewing this particular plant creates a type of experience of sensation, the high, if you will, of this ingestion of this particular plant cut. So this is one of the foci points of this work, in that we see or we meet various people that are, for one reason or another, or through one aspect or another, may be related to or associated with the growth or the cultivation of this particular plant called cut. So this is a very important aspect of this film, FAYA DAYI, but it's also part of the equation, or it's one semblance or one part of the community that we see here, because we also meet various people that are caught or that are captured in moments of, shall we say, type of a framed reality, or moments of the moment. And what I mean by this is, this goes towards the what could be described as the very spiritual or almost prayer-like way in which this documentary unfolds before our very eyes. It is not a documentary where we are getting, say, interviews with people that are speaking directly towards the camera. We do hear voices, we do hear things like comments or spoken word from people that we assume are the participants in this film that we are seeing. We also hear moments of poetry, of prayer, of spirituals as well. We also see, as we hear these words, we also see people who are in various, say, positions that are captured on camera. It is not necessarily, I would say, a film that seems to be presenting itself in a type of cinema verite type of fashion. Rather, it seems to be very controlled, very precise, very focused, and it is thus presenting the moments or the world or the community through this type of structure, or this type of, say, prism of the camera work by Jessica Beshir. Now, at the same time, I think we can say that the camera also focuses on details and moments and things and people and places and faces and animals and birds and the like, and it lends itself into this almost transcendental, or maybe even a meditation quality that brings us in. It has this type of prayer or spiritual, or a sense of hypnosis that is very magical, and it's very absorbing. So it takes its time and it gathers information for us, but it presents it in a way that is very respectful of the place and community and time and situation. It also presents it in a way that, again, feels like we are in the moment. Time seems to be passing, but at the same time, it is shot in a way such that it feels like there is a type of timelessness, or time is not touching the instances or moments that we are feeling or experiencing in this part of the world, Harer. So that has a type of, as I say, a mesmerizing quality to it. So in that way, it is a documentary, but it is a documentary that is not presenting information in, say, this interview to the camera type of fashion, but rather it is presenting information in a way that is very much elliptical, but also very much transcendental, and also very much capturing moments. And the capturing of moments is very skilled, it's very controlled, it's very structured. It's also very respectful and very much engaging and being absorbed into the moment that we are witnessing and evolving before our very eyes. So I am explaining this in a very poor way, I understand. My suggestion, and we'll get to the supplements, is to listen to Jessica Beshir's commentary in one of the great supplements that's included here. But it is a very meditative way of presenting information. Now, one thing that this does is it means that we as viewers, as we are watching this part of the world through the lens of FAYA DAYI, this work, it means that we are maybe engaged in a way that we're not being presented with all, say, the facts of the information of the particular situation or setting. We don't know exactly, for example, who these people are in the context of, say, the socio-political, cultural dynamic of Ethiopia at the time. We don't know the context in which, say, they figure into, say, actions of the government or ruling classes, etc. at the time. We only see them directly as they are, who they are. At the same time, we also understand that they are part of a movement or class or time and place. And for a furtherance of a type of a rewarding experience of watching FAYA, one, I think, can be encouraged to, say, look into and research the history, the current socio-political history of Ethiopia, and see exactly what that circumstance is, or what circumstance we can assume is happening to these people, again, as we meet them through the various scenarios and exchanges that are part of the presentation of FAYA. And indeed, this part of the social, political, and economic and cultural dynamic of Ethiopia at the time of making this is one of the things that's brought up in the really great select scene commentary section of the Criterion supplement. So that is to say that it is a film that I think presents things and images and ideas to us on one level, but also it's a film that I think we as viewers can bring to the table as well. And the more I think one has an understanding and appreciation of the history of Ethiopia, the current history of Ethiopia, one can then have a feeling and sense and understanding and idea of who these people are that we are meeting while we are watching this film unfold. Now, as we are watching this film unfold, another thing too that we have to keep in mind is the beauty and elegance and grace of the camera work and what is being captured. The details are so lovingly captured in the photography elements. And what I love too is, again, this is a part of the world that I know nothing about directly in terms of lived in experience. I've never been to this part of the world. I've never been to Ethiopia, and I don't know the specific details of, say, the industry of cut per se. But I feel like when I watch this film, I can really understand, or at least maybe get a sense of the world, because the details that are focused on by Jessica Beshir are things that I think I can feel and I can understand based on my own subjective experience. For example, smoke that is emanating from a lit flame, or maybe the idea of cooking something on a pan, or maybe preparing something that's like a craft or needlework, and the care and the intimacy that's involved between the person and the hands that are working, or the close-ups on faces of people as we hear over on a type of voiceover narration of sorts, concepts about love and first love and acceptance and rejection. These are feelings that I think we all can understand, and I certainly can understand, or at least sympathize with. And also ideas too about generations, the younger generation versus the older generation, parents and children, and a type of divide that's occurring, a type of feeling maybe on the part of the younger generation people that we meet. Maybe there's a sense of wanting to leave this area, wanting to go outside of this part of Harare into, say, other parts of the world, like other parts of Africa, other parts of Europe, for instance. And there's a very interesting sequence involving the idea of trying to leave the place, and what are the steps and procedures and risks involved in leaving, and the amounts that are needed for leaving. And this is spoken of, or we hear from members of, say, the younger generation that we meet. Also, there is a type of, say, maybe not necessarily clash, but there are generational differences. There's a type of generational gap that is also expressed in the context of various family units that we encounter through this work. But that is also, I think, one of the great ways into the film, in that this is a type of universality that is being expressed. I mean, I think this idea of generational experiences is something that we all can relate to in one form or another. So this is a fascinating aspect of the type of accessibility and universality of many of the aspects that are being spoken of, while at the same time preserving and protecting and respecting the essence of the people and the place in a beautiful and poetic way that Jessica Beshir really captures through her camera and indeed through this film. So I love those roots of accessibility, shall we say, those avenues of accessibility entering into this world that is also a world that that for me anyway, I am learning many things for the first time and watching this film for the first time and finding it so fascinating indeed. And I should point out too that the way in which sounds and feelings and atmosphere and looks and images are combined, they are images that are, I think, they feel almost like they are frozen in time. I don't know how to explain it otherwise, but they feel like they're frozen in time, while at the same time they are relying on the beauty of movement. There's something about the way things are moving or people are moving through space that is like a truly mesmerizing quality of this film. There's a way in which there's a moment where it's like a type of a type of how should I put it? For lack of a better phrase, cinematic magical hypnosis that is happening in terms of a almost methodical and really a thoughtful pace in which this film goes, and it's capturing the details, but letting us experience them almost in a way that we can experience them on our terms, while presenting and preserving and protecting the subject of the documentary. It is a really fascinating balance. I don't know how else to describe it except this type of timeless quality that is also centered in a cultural context. The way in which there is a type of a very almost wordless intimacy that is going on, while at the same time preserving and respecting the spoken word and the language and the lyricism and the beauty and the poetry that is involved in the language. And indeed, we understand too from some of the other later discussions in the supplements that one of the aspects of Jessica Beshir's work here is that she is capturing and meeting various people of this place, Harer, and the Oromo community and the farmers. But we also understand too that there are various dialects of language that are spoken. For example, Oromo and Harari and others. And there are some dialects that, again, are sounding and indeed quite different. And I think Jessica Beshir mentions in the commentary, or the scene select commentary, which is one of the supplements, that the dialect, the Oromo dialect was something that she had heard, but she wasn't necessarily fluent in. And so that is to say that language is very important. Now, I am not at all fluent in the language or the dialect, so I don't know which dialect is being spoken as I'm hearing it. So I can't make out that difference. But what I can attempt or endeavor to appreciate from a general perspective is, yes, the focus on language seems to be very important. And so the idea of listening to the words, of course, there are the subtitles that I read as I listen, but there is also a sense of the respect and the beauty and grace that this film engages in when it's not just showing us the image, but also preserving and presenting the language or dialects. And that to me is a very powerful combination indeed. And it's really going towards the strength of the beauty and the depth of the experience that is on display here. And this is a documentary that is very spiritual. It is a documentary that is akin to a prayer. It is a documentary that is akin to a type of transcendental experience. And it is a documentary that also has elements of social community context that is of a place that, for me, again, I have no direct experience in. I've never been to Ethiopia, so I don't know this experience firsthand. But the film provides a way for me, despite my lack of experience, to access this place and the people and to meet them and to understand or to feel something of their experience through these avenues of accessibility that I'm referring to. And that is a very powerful thing indeed. That is, I think, the strength of this film and the real beauty and persuasive energy of this film. Now, as I say, this was my first time to watch this upon the occasion of this Criterion release, and I thought it was so beautiful, so powerful. I watched it many times. I was struck by it every single time. And afterwards, I was trying to engage with the information that Jessica Beshir and others were presenting in the essays, and then watching it again and realizing that there are so many levels that this film operates. And but no matter what level one finds oneself in when watching this film, each level is its own beautiful experience. It really is. And so I know that I have many more levels that I need to discover and encounter as I rewatch this work. So I'm still learning and processing. But from what I gather upon my initial experiences in watching this film for a number of times upon its Criterion release, I was so overwhelmed indeed. This is the work FAYA. The Criterion Collection has released this film, FAYA, on this Blu-ray edition at spine number 1141. And it is a very stunning release that is presented in a way that really allows for a true enveloping into the sounds and the images, which is one of the great strengths of this. Now, I've taken the liberty of removing the insert, the full that insert, and it says about the master, FAYA is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.78 to 1. This film was completed in a fully digital workflow and features a fully digital soundtrack. The 5.1 surround soundtrack was remastered from the original digital audio master files. And so, once again, this is the Blu-ray for this film 2021. It looks and sounds magnificent, and it was a truly a transcendental or transformative type of experience. And so, again, this was my first time watching the film. I was so absorbed, and I think that ability to be feeling absorbed by the film was due in large part to the way this was presented in terms of looks and sound. So it's really wonderful in terms of that presentation, I felt. Now, let's also talk about the supplements, because the supplements are very, very important indeed. At least I felt that they were very important. So the first supplement is described as, it's Jessica Beshir and Ladan Osman on FAYA. This is described as being from the year 2022. It's approximately 35 minutes. And this is it's also described as a scene select commentary of sorts. Now, what this means is you go to the supplements menu and you select this supplement, and you get a sequence that is essentially scenes from the film with this commentary discussion over the scenes that we're watching. So we don't see the two of them discussing as a type of on-screen interview, but we hear their voices as they're talking about sequences that we are seeing from the film play themselves out. So it is described as a scene select commentary supplement. It is great. It is great. This is so great. I was watching the film for the first time a number of times, and then I watched this supplement and I was floored. I was learning so much. So, for example, this approach that Jessica Beshir has about the process, taking root in the soil, the idea of planting seeds that will grow over time. And there's the idea of time and patience. And she mentions and references the great filmmaker Kiarostami. And so, wow, what a powerful a glimpse into the philosophy of Jessica Beshir and her craft. She also mentions too the time it took to make FAYA over the course of many trips to Ethiopia, to Harar, over the course of, she says, 10 years approximately. And she's also talking about, interviews, talking with people, but also making the film in a way that was a type of different approach, as she mentions here, spiritual or a prayer-like. And I was very taken with those descriptions because, again, it is not that type of interview, talking to the camera process There's nothing wrong with that process, mind you, but it is a different approach that she is making here. It's a very fascinating approach, focusing in on this industry of the growth of the plant cut and the way in which it influences and impacts the community. And also, there are many things associated with cut that she mentions here, like parables and memory and the collective history she mentions of the growth of this plant. And that's something that she wanted to try to capture, one aspect that she captured. And indeed, she does very well. There are some sequences that also involve, say, the growth and the packaging and the packing, etc. And that's not all, because she also describes this idea of trances and the idea of, I love that phrase, getting rid of the filter. And I think what she's referring to is trying to create a sense of immediacy and directness between viewer and what is being shown. So this idea of ultimate subjectivity in the cinema and viewing experience, which is very, from my perspective, mind-blowing. It really serves to show the way in which this film, as documentary and as cinematic experience, is being handled. Documentary as spiritual, and the idea of. I love this phrase too. She describes how she wanted to film it in a way to free oneself from the limits of the oppressive sense of time, which I found to be so profound. I was thinking about this idea of time and the idea of an oppressive sense of time. It's almost like cinema acts in the hands of Jessica Beshir in making this work, FAYA DAYI. Cinema acts in a way to free one from the sense of time. So it's like, and that's what it is, because it is like a time capsule. But the way she's expressing it, it really puts such an emphasis on this idea of timelessness. But it's a type of beautiful paradox too, because we are seeing time unfold within the context of a film that is at the same time meant to create a sense of timelessness. So I love that wonderful, paradoxical, poetic contradiction. And I mean that in a very positive way. The poetic contradiction, or the contradictory nature of the beautiful lyrical poetry that is at play here. That is so brilliant. It shows the great depth of complexity that we have, even when we have an image that is quiet, that is still. That type of complexity shows the depth and scope of what we are watching, FAYA DAYI. It is really, really brilliant indeed in that way. And the idea of communion and the idea of connectivity and the freedom that she's mentioning here. And also talking about the place itself, Harer, and the community and the people that she meets there. And the idea of needing to be in a place of respecting the serendipity, always being alert, being ready to respond, and the idea of respecting the truthful nature of what's being captured. Presence. I love this phrase too. There is nothing more truthful than what presence offers you. The idea of being in the moment, being present in the moment, I think is so important here. Prayer, the heart, the voice. Also sounds. She mentions this phrase, sonic vibrations, and which is brilliant. Also the photography is like conversations with light, natural light, which is, again, so profound to me. Was so great. And then she goes into details of the language, the Oromo language, and also talking about the youth, the Oromo community, younger generation, the youth that she meets, and how there is a sense of where they are in terms of the social, political, and cultural dynamic of Ethiopia. And here she talks too about recent historical events of Ethiopia and government. And there are various events involving land, Oromo land, and the young generation, and how there was efforts on the part of the government, the ruling government at the time, to displace Oromo peoples from the land in order to essentially take land from the people. But there was resistance movements, especially among the younger generations of the Oromo community. And that led to clashes between protesters and the ruling government at the time. And so what she mentions here too is that when we see in this film, say, images of the Oromo youth or pictures of that sort, we understand, or she mentions how for some people they were directly involved in these government clashes or these resistance movements or these protests. And they might have even had some very violent and very tragic circumstances involved with that. Maybe they knew people who were arrested or who died in various movements or part of the cause. And so when you remember that, or when one is told that, when one watches this film again and we see the shots of the young people or certain their looks on their face as we hear the voice and we see them sitting outside, we understand that there's so much under the surface. That's what I mean when you see this image that's so beautiful, that's so picturesque, and look up the close-up on the face. It's so beautiful on that level. And then there's another level that it operates on when you understand that a number of these people are coming from a background and life experience. They are young, 18, 19, 20, maybe even younger, but that they have had such a powerful, and for a lot of people maybe violent and profoundly life-changing experience in terms of their efforts in trying to, in a sense, protect Oromo lands from government takeover. And the efforts led to a lot of, say, a tragedy and sadness and violence. But you still see it in their face. There's a sense of dignity and nobility that is part of that. So this is part of the feeling and the culture and part of the history that we see and feel. We as viewers then maybe, I feel like I need to research more, but it is places like this, Jessica Beshir's commentary or discussion here, that really helps to ground and helps to provide this type of context, again, to provide yet another level, yet another way in which one can appreciate and admire and be drawn into this world, FAYA DAYI. It is so brilliant. This scene select commentary, this discussion is great. Please check it out if you can. It makes me wish that the film, the release by Criterion, could have had its own commentary track. It doesn't have its own commentary track as far as I can tell. It would have been so great if this could have been provided throughout the entire film as its own separate commentary track. But as it is, as it stands now, this separate supplement, this scene select commentary, is brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So please check it out if you can. Once again, it is approximately 35 minutes. That's not all, because then we get a number of short films from Jessica Beshir. And these are, there are 3 of them, and they are each very fascinating in their own way. So the first is described as being from 2016, He Who Dances on Wood, and it's focusing on the figure or the individual Fred Nelson dancing on a piece of wood, tap dancer in Prospect Park, approximately 5 minutes. This is so fascinating too because it shows a sense of place and style and presence, and this idea of presence is being a part of Jessica Beshir's philosophy in cinema. And you see it here in the way in which she focuses in on this individual. And indeed, yes, the way she focuses in on presence means that there is such a precise, intimate respect that she has for the individuals that we meet through her works. And He Who Dances on Wood is a great example of this. There is a way in which we hear the voice, we see the movements and the dance, and we get to know this person over the course of this relatively speaking, a very short amount of time, about 5 minutes, but we feel like we get to know this person at the end of the day. And it is such a, it's so, it feels so human and so warm and so welcoming. And again, it's introducing me to something that, again, I know very little about in terms of this idea of tap dancing, but the focus of this person that we meet is incredible, and the way that it's presented is really incredible. So that's the first short film, He Who Dances on Wood, for approximately 5 minutes. The next film is a short film, approximately 16 minutes, from 2017. It's described as being from 2017, excuse me. And this is the film which is given the title of Heroine. Heroine. I'm not sure if this is my first time watching. I'm not sure if this is meant to be heroine or heroine or another type of pronunciation, because when I watch this film, you see the title card of this title, Heroine, but the It's spelled Heroin, but the way it's presented in the title card is fascinating, and it suggests to me that there could be a play on words that I am not fully familiar with, but I can guess as to the possibility. But in any event, the title is Heroin. And this is fascinating too because it's also focusing in on an individual and a type of devotion, almost to the level of spiritual or prayer-like devotion towards a singular subject. This time it's a painting or depiction of someone that he loves and the type of devotion that he has in painting and making art, the subject of which is this person, the same individual, a woman that he knows very intimately and loves. He's painting her over and over and over again over the course of many years. And we get a glimpse into that art process. We also get a glimpse into him and who he is. Also, there are some surprises along the way in terms of the way that it is shot, the photography, choices in photography, and who we meet as well over the course of the 16 minutes. Again, presence and time and timelessness and a sense of devotion towards something, a singular point, which is, again, can be said to be described to be akin to something spiritual and prayer-like. Wow. This is really fascinating. Again, the short film, Heroin, approximately 16 minutes. And then the third short film that's included here is described as being from 2017, although there's an introduction which I think describes as being from 2016. So it's 2016 or 2000. So the supplement section describes it as being from 2017, but there's an introduction that's approximately 5 minutes where it shows a clip from the film Hayrat, which describes it being from 2016. So it's either 2016 or 2017. But in any event, we have a film that first has an introduction, a 5-minute introduction with Jessica Beshir herself. And she describes the Hayrat, the significance of the title, the meaning of the word. It's for the better, or no matter what happens, it's for the better. And this she describes too about what the subject matter is, and the individual that is the subject here, Yusuf Mum Saleh, and the concept or the history of hyenas and the community and famine, and how the community handled or took care of dealing with the situation of hyenas to prevent the hyenas from attacking the community. And it's a fascinating concept that then has its parallels into the present day. And so this is the relationship between Yusuf, the subject of this short film, and the hyenas. And so what a fascinating fascinating concept and sort of spiritual journey. Again, a focus on something, a singular subject that is given a sense of devotion and spirituality and prayer and respect towards its subject matter and the persons that we meet or the people that we meet. Brilliant, so brilliant. So it also serves too as a type of maybe, and all these films I think serve as a type of complement to the feature-length film FAYA. There's also a glimpse into the filmmaking craft of Jessica Beshir. So, Hayrat, please check it out if you can. This is approximately, there's the introduction that's approximately 5 minutes, and the film itself is approximately 6 minutes. So, please check it out if you can. And also the introduction too, because you get to see Jessica Beshir herself speaking on camera for this discussion. It's really great. So please check it out if you can. The introduction is described, yes, so please check it out if you can. And then the supplements are rounded out by a really lovely trailer, which is a lovely thing to watch. So a great set of supplements, I think, for this work, FAYA. And so now a word about the packaging and presentation here. So this cover art design, I think, is a really fascinating collage or a superimposition of images that are taken from the work itself, FAYA, and it has and the font too as well is also taken from this particular context, and so it's carried over this theme of this type of collage or superimposition or shots from the film taken in front and the back, and also it's part of the interior. So it looks like this part of the side of the interior here would be the part where you have the booklet or insert, and I've just taken removed it already, but it would go like this, and it looks like it's a blank cover or blank interior, but actually it isn't, because if you remove the disc, you can see that there's something on the other side that is hidden behind the disc. So it's a type of a hidden Easter egg, in a manner of speaking. It's a really fascinating way in which this is using the images of the film. And again, the images are one of the key components of this work, FAYA DAYI, and that is also taken into the insert or fold out. It's a fold out type, so I'm not a fan of the fold out type at all, but the capturing of these images here is splendid, absolutely splendid. So well done for this wonderful design work. I think it really serves to capture the essence of the film itself really splendidly. And speaking of the insert, I don't like the fold out, but I love, as I say, the image design, and I love the essay. I'm sorry, before I forget to, the art is described as, or credited to, art directors Hera Habibi, Eric Skillman, designer Nessim Higsam. So a wonderful job. And now going to the insert, it has a great essay. It's called Escape and Return, Yasmina Price. Oh, this is so wonderful. Again, I was talking about how I was learning so much. And one of the places where I was learning a lot was from this great essay, Yasmina Price's essay, Escape and Return. Oh, please, please read this essay if you can. Watch the film first, and then you can, and then also the short films as well. The 3 short films, and then read this brilliant, brilliant essay. Oh, my goodness. I read it a number of times, and I was just taking notes, and I was just learning so many things each and every time. So Escape and Return by Yasmina Price. Please check it out if you can. Also, a note to, while I say that I don't like the fold-out type, I do like the type of paper that it's used. Lately, as I've noted elsewhere, it seems like Criterion is using a different type of paper than, say, in the past, and I like this type of higher quality feel to the paper itself. I don't know what the exact material is called, but I'm enjoying it very much as a sort of minor point of the physical media experience overall. So that is the discussion of this great Criterion release, FAYA DAYI. Again, my first time watching it, I watched it many, many times, and I was struck by it each and every time. I tried my best to explain and articulate how I feel about this and why I think it's such a powerful work, but I think my words do not do the film justice. So please, I encourage you, please, please, please check out this film if you can. It is a real a beautiful thing. It is a glorious thing, and it is a magnificent thing indeed. It is a true work of a mesmerizing, magical cinema quality, very poetic, very lyrical, and very accessible in the ways that I was trying to describe today. And it is this work by Jessica Beshir, and it is FAYA DAYI. Okay, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.